and welcome to our podcast thing. This is the first time either of us are ever doing this, so we thought we'd just try it out. My name is Jay, and I have here with me...
Racc. Hello. I eat garbage.
Cool.
It's better when I steal it. It's the thrill of the steal. That's what raccoons do.
Living up to stereotypes, I see. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
All right. That was a thing. I was just about to say, we're a couple who are very bored in quarantine, as you can see, and I mean, this year has been something, and we thought we'd just try something new and have fun with it and share it with the world, because that's what millennials do, right? Anyhow, I mean, we like having long discussions that we think are really fun and educational and engaging, and we thought, why deprive the world of our voices, of our knowledge that we impart?
I just want to check it off my bucket list before the world ends, which might happen sooner than we think.
Okay, always the optimist.
Yep.
Anyhow, we thought, for the first episode of God knows how many episodes, maybe we drop it after this, who knows, we would try and get our audience of currently 0 to get to know us a bit better, maybe. So we thought a fun way to do that was talking about Meyers-Briggs and our Meyers-Briggs personalities, because why not? So, I mean, before we get into that, maybe we should clarify, who is Meyers-Briggs? And Meyers-Briggs is not one person, but two. It actually refers to the mother-daughter duo of Catherine Cook Briggs and Isabel Briggs Myers. And together, they developed this test, which is formally known as the Myers-Briggs Type Indicator, or the MBTI. And it was developed because Catherine was really interested in researching personality. And while doing that, she started refining her theories of personality after reading Carl Jung's book, Psychological Types.
Can I add something?
Okay.
Can I add something? Yeah. So Carl Gustav Jung was one of the first, maybe the first psychologist to theorize about the differences between introversion and extroversion. So I think they built up on that. In fact, one of the main distinctions in the Myers-Briggs personality test is that of introverts versus extroverts. So, Jay, can you tell me what an introvert is versus an extrovert? Because some people don't actually have a good idea of the definition of either term.
I mean, I don't think my answer is what you're looking for.
Well, give it a shot. Come on.
Okay. I mean...
I'm not judging. Maybe I am, but I won't tell you.
An introvert is someone, who's really energized by being alone. We see them as often like the people who want to spend a lot of time alone. And the extroverts are the people who are really energized by being around people.
Okay, that's very accurate. Of course, I told you that before, so you're just repeating my own words. It's all good. It's all good.
Okay.
No, that's actually very accurate. Jokes aside, introversion essentially means turn towards the inside, towards oneself, and extroversion means the opposite, turn towards the exterior. So introverts are not necessarily shy people. There are shy extroverts out there. Introverts basically derive their energy from themselves, so they need to be alone quite a bit to recharge, which is something extroverts don't understand. Well, whereas extroverts, they get their energy back from talking to people and being in social situations. That's the main difference.
All right. Well, thank you for that information. I mean, moving on with Myers and Briggs and their history, Catherine's daughter, Isabel, began to work on her research and actually eventually took it over. But I think it's really important to note that neither of these women had any formal training or learning in psychology whatsoever. So this has been deemed as something that's not super scientific. But, I mean, a lot of people believe in it, and maybe we can talk about our own beliefs in Myers-Briggs versus, other personality tests or astrology and what we think about it. So I think you, based on what you just answered with the introversion, extroversion, have some strong opinions about Myers-Briggs.
Well, whether it's scientific or not, I think it works, actually. In my particular case, and really in your case as well, I think it's pretty darn accurate. So, I don't know what to say. I guess maybe they didn't have a lot of research experience, but they certainly read the right material, and I think it works pretty good. It's the kind of personality test that really is based on the description of cognitive functions. So I think it can help you make sense of how you interact with the world. So yeah, it can be helpful. I think it's helped me in the past understand how I interact with different people who are very different from me. So I take it with a grain of salt, but I think it's fun to explore its myriad ramifications.
Well, for me, I feel like yes, my Myers-Briggs personality is quite accurate. As a whole, I don't know if I truly believe in the whole process. I mean, I do have a background in psychology, and there are other personality tests with more evidence for them. For example, like the Big Five personality traits. So when I was in university, I actually had to do a test. Well, not a test, right? But like a bunch of questions to figure out where I landed on the Big Five personalities. And if people who don't know what that is, it's these 5 major personality traits. So I believe it's conscientiousness, agreeableness, neuroticism, openness to experience, and extroversion, I think? Something like
extroversion, yeah.
Yeah, so I did that, and to complete the questions to get that kind of idea of who I was, I spent 2-3 hour sessions answering questions to get a really detailed perspective of how neurotic I was, how open to experience I was, all these things. Whereas the MBTI, for example, you can do these quizzes online anywhere, and you do them in 10 minutes, you do them in 20 minutes, and then they're saying, this is you, you know? And, I mean, everyone has these kind of archetypes that they follow in their day-to-day, but I don't really believe that we can just boil every person down to one of 16 traits. Like, 7 billion people, like, we can boil them all down to 1 out of 16 doesn't really make sense to me, and I see it as, like, this great tool to understand yourself better and understand the people around you and some very common ways that you might interact, but I don't think people should put as much stock as they do into it.
I also assume that there's probably a validated variance of MBTI, and all the tests you find on the internet are not necessarily validated, like with IQ tests. Yeah. And I think it's also possible to combine the Enneagram with MBTI. I've seen people do it. And I guess that probably gives you a more thorough understanding of how your personality works.
Well, that's an important note to make as well, because, anytime you put more detail into something, you're going to get a better output, right? If you're answering 5 questions to get your personality type versus 500, that's going to be different, right? Yeah. If you're combining different aspects, it's going to work. And I mean, that does give it a little more validity, I think, if things are starting to coalesce in a certain way, because comparatively, if we look at how we do astrology, for example, how we look at astrology, right? People think astrology is just, you're born under one of 12 signs, and those broad categories are what make you you. But if you really go into the kind of depth of it and the study of it, you realize that people are very different. It's not just based on the day of the month you were born. It's also the time of day you were born, like down to the minute, because you're not actually just looking at these constellations. You also look at where every celestial object in our solar system is comparative to the moment you were born. Were they visible in the sky? Where, if they were, what phase were they in? Based on the time of year, what phase were they in? All these really important things, and then they've ascribed very specific personalities to people born under these specific planets,
So I'm going to go on a tangent here. Astrology might seem like nonsense, but do we really know that for a fact? So we know that people react differently to different types of weather or to different exposure to sunlight. So is it really unthinkable that one might be influenced by, well, celestial objects? After all, the moon controls the tides. So is it impossible to imagine that its gravitational pull might influence human personality? I don't know. This may seem a bit outlandish, but there might be something there. After all, different systems of astrology have been used for millennia, so I assume that they were working at least in some respect, limited respect. I don't know.
I mean, there's that, but then you could also look at the four humors, right?
Oh yeah, the temperaments.
Which sounded like they were based on science of the time, and sounded like they made sense in that time, but really, having more blood doesn't make you a happier person. And being a happier person doesn't mean your volume of blood is higher than the average person.
So, for those who don't know, classical medicine was built on the assumption that different bodily disorders were caused by either excess or lack of specific fluids, like blood or lymph. So you had 4 different temperaments, which were influenced by an excessive volume of said fluid. So if you were sanguine, you'd have an excess of blood, and you tend to be, happy and full of energy and vitality and all that. Lymphatic would mean an excess of lymph, and lymphatic people or phlegmatic people tend to be, cool and collected, and they chill. Then you have melancholy temperaments, right, which have an excess of black bile. I don't even know what black bile is.
There's no black bile in the body.
But anyway, maybe they were talking about blood clots or whatever. Anyway, black bile, and they tend to be, they're sad and they're emo. And then you have choleric people who have an excess of actual bile, the gallbladder, and those people tend to be goal-driven and temperamental. They get angry easily.
Well, it sounded scientific at the time, but to again boil people down to 4.
Yeah,
four
but that had a big influence on therapeutics, because what physicians do to you? They would say, well, you probably have too much blood, so we're gonna do bloodletting on you.
Though bloodletting does have its benefits
for very specific conditions, like iron overload.
That's true, or post-surgery to reduce swelling.
Yeah. Also leeches are sometimes used.
Yeah, but this is a total tangent.
But that's very, very, very specific. Basically the 4 temperaments don't really work. Physiologically, they don't work. Just remember that.
Yeah.
They don't work. You're not gonna cure someone by sucking out their lymph for blood. That's probably just going to make them sick, unless they have very, very, very specific conditions. You can trust me on that. I'm a doctor.
Alright, so moving on from that, maybe we should get, that massive digression, we should start talking about us, because that's the whole point of this podcast, right? It's to talk, no, but, I mean, what are our types? For me, I am something called an ENFJT, and Racc is an INTJT.
Be afraid, be very afraid.
They don't know why to be afraid yet.
They'll know.
So, maybe we should, explain what the heck all of that means.
Okay. You do the honors.
Absolutely not. You're the expert in this, clearly.
I'm an expert.
You studied it for years in your spare time.
I just read stuff. Anyway.
Please, after you.
Okay. So these are acronyms, right? And they describe different functions, basically. Okay, so there are two ways to explain the MBTI types. I'll take your type, okay, as an example. ENFJT, right? So the first letter is always I or E, which means introversion or extroversion. So it describes how you direct your energy, whether it's towards yourself or towards other people. Okay.
So an E for me would mean
you're an extrovert. Surprise,
extroverted.
Surprise.
What?
We'll get into that. Let's just talk about the letters first.
All right. Okay.
We'll confuse people otherwise.
All right.
So you're an extrovert.
Okay. So I'm extrovert. Okay.
Okay. The second letter can be either N or S. N stands for intuition, right?
Intuition.
Or sensing, right? So that's a bit complicated to explain. It relates to how you collect and process information. So So some people are very sensory. That is, they like to use their 5 senses, eyesight, hearing, taste, whatever, to collect information. They're very dependent on their sensory memory. So they like to compare, the situation they're in now to situations they've been similar situations they've been in the past, right? Intuition is, we don't know what it is. It's like magic. It happens. Stuff happens. You get a sense for something, and it's true because you're just a wizard, apparently.
It's a bunch of subconscious processes.
Yeah, it's hard to explain. It's basically your subconscious brain
identifying patterns to make
collecting a lot of
assumptions.
information without you even realizing it, and then drawing patterns and helping you make predictions. So it's like magic, except it's not. It's just something that we don't quite process actively. It's in the back of our minds, but it's there. It exists. Okay, third letter is T or F. F for feeling, T for thinking. Well, that's confusing. It's very confusing because you can be a rational person and be a feeler. What feeling actually means is that you value emotions and values more than people who are thinkers. And thinkers could be very emotional, but thinkers tend to value objects more than people. In other words, if you're a predominant feeler, you might really, really enjoy, going out with your friends and just talking for hours, right? If you're a thinker, you might enjoy fiddling around with your latest invention or trying to figure out how things work, studying very, very specific things that don't necessarily involve human interaction. Anyway, and then the final letter is J or P, which stands for judging or perceiving. That relates to how you make decisions. So perceivers tend to be very laid back, happy-go-lucky. Let's just see how, things evolve. Let's not make too many plans. That's not us, by the way. We're J's. We like to know where we're going. We like to be organized. We like to plan things. We like order and direction. Yeah. I have a bias. I'm sorry. I think we're cooler. Anyway, and then the last letter, it's not always used by MBTI tests. It relates to neuroticism or sensitivity. T stands for turbulent, A for assertive. I don't think it's necessarily a question of confidence here. It's more a question of how strongly you react to different stimuli. So very sensitive people tend to be more turbulent. They ruminate more. They think more about their own limitations and what they could improve in their lives. Things like that. Now, this is the surface level explanation of how MBTI works. MBTI really means that each individual has 4 different functions. Okay? There are 8 possible functions, but you only really use 4 different functions. And then there's the other 4 functions, which are called shadow functions, and which don't really help you all that much. Anyway, so the first function is your dominant function. You have it. You've always had it. As a kid, it's the first thing that popped inside your mind, right? So your first function, your dominant function, is extroverted feeling, which means that you like to interact with people. You like to be around people. You like to know, to get to know them better, and you like to make people happy.
Yes.
That makes you happy. See, you've always been this way. That's your main thing.
That is true. Yeah.
The auxiliary function, that's the second function, in your case, is introverted intuition, which means that you're a unicorn. You just do magic. That's all I'm going to say about it.
I just know things, right?
You just know things. You drink and you know things, except you don't drink.
I don't drink. Yeah. You drink, I know things.
And I know things. And you notice things. Yeah. I don't notice things, but I know things.
No, that's
anyway. So this auxiliary function developed in adolescence. By the time you're an adult, you should be really good in your first 2 functions. But not necessarily your tertiary function, which in your case is extroverted sensing. What is extroverted sensing? Well, extroverted sensing means that you like being in the moment and enjoying, life in its more sensuous dimension. Like, going out, getting drunk.
Still not me.
No, but eating something really nice.
Still not me.
Experiencing new things.
Still not
going
me.
on a roller coaster, that's your thing.
That's my thing.
Taking chances, like risk taking. That's
not me.
Sensing. I mean, it's there. You're going to develop it eventually. You're still young.
I mean, to be fair, this is taking a risk, just putting our voices out on the
internet.
internet.
There you go. Risk-taking. Okay. And then your inferior function, that's going to haunt your entire life.
Great.
Until you hit your, 40s or 50s or whatever.
Excellent.
It's your Achilles heel. In your case, it's introverted thinking, which means that you struggle with logic and numbers.
That's true.
Mathematics, and it's so true in your case.
I've always been mad at that.
You might get better at it, but it'll take you a long time, and it's something of a weakness that can have an impact on how you deal with problems and events.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, now in my case, my dominant function is introverted intuition. Wow, we have something in common. I wonder why we're together. Anyway. So yeah, I weave my wand and stuff comes out of the blue. Anyway, and then my second auxiliary function is extroverted thinking, which means that I'm your worst nightmare. It means I like to give orders, and I'm goal-oriented, and I like to make things happen, and I believe in organization and structure. Yeah. Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. It's pretty darn well developed.
Yeah.
The third function in my case is introverted feeling, which means that I'm in touch with my feelings. It really means I'm in touch with my values. So I can have very strong opinions about what is important in life for me personally. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And my inferior function is extrovert sensing. Wow, we have something else in common. And given that it's so underdeveloped, when I'm under a great deal of stress, I stop noticing my environment. You've seen that, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, of course.
And I can also be reckless.
Which is very less so in me, despite having the same inferior function.
Yeah. And we're both turbulent, which means that, we're kind of neurotic. But I guess you knew that already.
Yeah, we're very stressy people.
You people out there who might recognize our voices, you knew that already. All right.
But, I mean, that's a really good overview of the aspects that make up our personality types. So I thought it might be interesting to just talk about some common traits related to our personality types. So people now, with it being a more popular thing, have assigned these kinds of names to the personality types. So for mine, being an ENFJ, I have been called the protagonist on some sites, and on other sites, the giver. And I personally relate more to the giver. The protagonist just seems very pretentious. I am the main character of every story I'm in.
You're the main character of your life story. So
well, everyone is, though. Everyone is.
Maybe you more so than others. Think about it.
I don't know, man. That's pretentious. But anyhow...
I'm pretentious.
You are. But... some of the common traits that are seen in my personality type would be I can be influential, I'm loyal, reliable, genuinely kind, I'm passionate and firm in my ideals and principles, I'm highly intuitive and reflective, I'm warm, caring, generous, and people-focused, I'm extremely organized with difficulty dealing with uncertainties, I'm a good communicator, and I'm open-minded and highly accepting of others. So, what do you think of that?
Those people know you intimately. What the hell? No, seriously, that's actually really accurate. It's scary in its accuracy.
Yeah?
It's very good.
Oh, well, they got something right. They know me, apparently. I'm just an archetype. I'm just a carbon
we're
copy.
All archetypes.
We're all archetypes. All right, and yourself, do you want me to read it, or do you want to?
Oh, you can say it.
All right.
What am I called?
You're an INTJ. And, you are called the architect? Is that right?
Architect, yes.
Or the mastermind?
Yes.
So, you're,
Are you thinking what I'm thinking, Pinky? Are you pondering what I'm pondering?
Yeah, and I think we had mentioned this earlier in other discussions that INTJs tend to be portrayed as villains. So Mastermind kind of fits.
In popular fiction. Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Moriarty is supposed to be an INTJ. I'm sure you could find a bunch of Bond villains who fit the archetype.
So here I am, the good guy.
That guy from Harry Potter.
Voldemort?
No. The pale guy with the long hair.
Oh,
Severus. Severus something, yeah.
Severus
I think he's supposed to be an INTJ as well.
Wait, you're talking blonde hair or black hair?
No, black hair.
Black hair, yeah, that's Severus Snape.
Yeah. So if you see a guy in fiction who is super confident and intimidating and knows where he or she is going and wants to dominate others, yeah, that's an INTJ.
I mean, Severus is a simp, though.
Oh.
So, I don't know.
I feel insulted.
Anyhow, your traits, the common INTJ traits, would be able to absorb extremely complex theoretical material, supreme strategists who are logical, rational, and future-oriented, strong insights and intuitions, can easily see the big picture, extremely logical and values knowledge and efficiency, very high standards for performance, which they apply themselves most strongly, reserved and detached from others, but value close friendships, and bored with mundane routine tasks, small talk, and surface level thinking. So I think these are really true. I think about number 7, where bored with small talk and mundane tasks, and I think about you hate small talk.
I hate small talk. Okay, I'm gonna say it now. I'm not gonna say it again. I hate small talk. Okay, moving on.
But
don't talk to me about the weather, please. Don't. Just don't.
Okay, all right. I mean, that was a strong opinion right there, and you wear it proudly. I think you're very logical, and you grasp really complex ideas. I mean, based on your own background, your educational and professional background, it's very clear. Not everyone can be a doctor, so that to me screams that. And very high standards for performance. Like, you're a perfectionist. You need things to be a very specific way. You want to be the best at what you're doing, and you do that. I think it's pretty accurate.
I try.
And I mean, it's also interesting to think about, if you don't know us, a lot of people may not know us, famous people who have our personality types. So a popular ENFJ would be Oprah, who I adore. She's my idol. I've loved her since I was a kid. I'm like Josh from Drake and Josh, obsessed with Oprah. And for INTJs, Elon Musk is an INTJ.
That guy.
But
Be very afraid.
He's saying interesting things on Twitter, so we'll see with Elon. But I think it's one thing that's really important to note is with these things is that people can change over time. I've done this test. I did it 10 years ago, and my personality type was different than what it was now. And there is you can't just hold yourself to this one thing and think that's your be all and end all. And also the people around you got to remember, people do change, personalities do change over time, especially when you have major events that are in your life that change your way of thinking. So I think this is super fun. This is fun to say I'm like Oprah, but it's something.
You are in some ways, but probably not that.
You get a car. But, a really interesting one is that Barack Obama is considered an ENFJ, and Michelle Obama is an INTJ.
So we know who was pulling the strings all along now. Ha ha ha.
But it's cool to see a real-life relationship where these personality types work out, and also a really super successful relationship and in their professions, they're a total power couple. So, which relates to our next point, which is talking about, are we compatible as based on our personalities? I mean, we've been together for a few years now, almost 2.5, more than 2.5 years now, and I think we've worked pretty well for the most part. And I mean, looking at some of the points that they make on compatibility, I think we can really agree with them. For example, we both love intellectual stimulation. We like to observe the world and try and understand why things the way they are, trying to figure out less than obvious connections between things. I think that describes us pretty well. We like to plan ahead. We're not very good at being present and in the moment. We like to be very productive and setting goals and working towards our own goals. And some friction because of our personality types that, I mean, as a couple we have noticed would be, the priorities we have, where ENFJs are very idealistic about relationships and always prioritize the relationship, where INTJs, who are apparently the most independent personality type, are very concerned with intellectual pursuits and careers, and they might not give as much attention to the ENFJ as the ENFJ would like.
Which means constant attention.
I mean, it's true. It's true. I like to have the attention all the time. I like that. But I mean, as you mature and work together as a couple, you learn to fulfill both these needs simultaneously without like having to actually compromise on them. And I think we're working well on that, you know. But
it's a fun challenge.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any perfect MBTI relationship like compatibility, because I don't think even someone could be like, I could not be with another person who's like me. That would drive me insane. You know, you do need some complementary factors, but no one's perfect, right? But I mean, that's kind of where we are on teaching you guys a bit about
go out there and take the test and let us know what you found out about yourselves and whether you agree with the results or not.
Yeah, that would be super fun. Now, something
yes,
we want to try as a regular thing on the show, if this thing actually becomes regular, who knows,
fingers crossed,
is we have a jar. And this jar is something I made.
It's the jar of love.
Yes, it's the jar of love, and within it is a bunch of little scrolls. I'll have to take a picture and post it. But there's a bunch of little itty bitty scrolls in it that I individually wrote and wrapped up as a Valentine's Day gift. And the
Best Valentine's Day gift ever.
And the intent behind it was to talk about like cutesy things about our relationship. So like things I love about my partner, date ideas, cheesy love song quotes, inspirational quotes, writing prompts, hopes and dreams for the future, and favorite memories. So
shall we do it, Jay? Shall we do it?
I mean, we could definitely do it.
Yeah.
Like read a week's worth of them, because this was supposed to be almost empty right now, and thanks to the year we've had, it is still quite full. So we need an excuse to read it. I don't know if anyone wants to hear this. You can skip.
Well, we want to hear ourselves, so
please bear with us. Like you know, we like attention.
Yes,
clearly. So, I mean, maybe we can do a bit of ASMR with this. I don't know. Let's see.
Ooh. You know what? We could do a podcast about ASMR.
That would be an interesting thing. We have a weird obsession with ASMR.
Yes, we do. But it works.
It does.
Okay. I want to pick.
You want to pick?
All right.
Put it right here.
Oh, God, I love this stuff. It's like, it's the gift that keeps on giving.
Yeah, it's been giving. So what did we pull up here?
So this is blue. Memory?
Oh yeah, that one would be a memory. Should we read it? Should we read it out loud or just keep
Let's read it together.
Yeah.
1, 2, 3. The photo shoot your mom made us do when we were in front of the Palau Nacional in Barcelona. Oh, memories. Remember those times when one could travel abroad?
Oh yeah, man, that was... Those were good times, because I'd never been to Europe. This is my first time, and you gave me the travel bug, and then this year happened, and now we can't travel anymore. But this was really cool.
The It Storm happened.
The It Storm, nice.
Okay, well this is it a song lyric?
Oh yeah.
You want to read it?
No, not at all. It's a song by Kimbra, and I have to think about the song. It's Love is a two-way street. We don't have to read that. That can just stay over there. It's cheesy. It's very cheesy.
But we're all about the cheese. We have cheddar snacks right here next to us. We're all about the cheese.
Little cheddar penguins. Nah, we're gonna skip this.
Okay,
cheese.
okay.
This might be helpful for people having a motivational quote.
Who's Nido Cobain? Boo. Your present circumstances don't determine where you can go. They merely determine where you start. Well, that's kind of relevant, isn't it?
Yeah, that's pretty nice.
So let's start by hopefully exiting quarantine someday.
Someday. One can hope, one can dream. And let's see if I'm going to actually...
Did you talk about writing topics?
writing prompts if anyone ever wants to try any of the writing prompts I did.
Because we both write. Testify. All right. That's pretty interesting.
Very interesting.
Kind of Kafkaesque.
This is things I like about my partner.
Oh.
My Racc.
Say it.
His smile with those rows of perfect teeth.
Yeah, a bit yellowish now.
Oh, this is disgusting. This was a bad idea.
Are we gonna get a second chance? Will anyone want a second podcast, second episode?
Listen, this is gonna sit here with 0 views on like a forever basis, and we're gonna like come back to this in 10 years and be like so proud of ourselves, and it's gonna have no views.
Well, this is pretty cool. It's a date night idea, which could actually work during lockdown. So it's do-it-yourself paid night. Isn't that awesome? We should actually do this.
That would actually be really fun. Like pulling up the Bob Ross painting tutorials.
I'm down for it.
I've seen those, and I mean, if you guys didn't have any ideas for something fun to do on your own, that is a perfect
absolutely.
little pandemic paint night kind of thing. Which I think
some lyrics now.
Oh, you're terrible. Oh no.
Oh wow, that is cheesy. Okay,
absolutely changed your mind. I love that.
So
I mean, that's about it from us.
That's pretty much what we had in mind.
Yeah,
good.
I think that is it from us for today, whatever time you intend to.
Please subscribe.
You're gonna do that. You're gonna be the please subscribe person. Oh my gosh.
We'll give you free candy. Not, but just give us a shot. I think we're funny.
I think we're maybe everyone will think we're the most boring thing in the world and they'll listen to us before they go to sleep. But
we don't care what you think about us, by the way.
I care deeply. No, but this is it from us.
Yeah.
And we will see you next time.
Yep.
All right. Bye-bye then.